Hey guys, how's it going? So today we're going to be working on maintaining some of the plants out here in the south garden. It's a little bit breezy and gray. We may even get a little bit of rain, which would be so nice and welcome. So we'll be starting right here. It's looking pretty rough. And then we're going to end up over on the other side. Paul and Aaron are working on the drip system over there as we speak. So as many of you know, we just started to develop this property last spring, and I'm really proud of how much we got done last year. I mean, of course, we've got this end goal vision of what we want it to look like with trees everywhere and lush and full of things, but it takes a while to get there. And last year, it was a lot of infrastructure. So, you know, we had to trench water and electrical everywhere. We took out our front lawn that was on our old property and our front driveway to marry the two properties together and had a new driveway put in. We did get quite a lot planted, I think, for a first year. And then, you know, we started developing the cut flower garden and orchard area. So anyway, we're just going to continue on with that this year. So I need to go through with the few perennials and shrubs that we did get planted and cut things back. They are going to be working on drip today so that hopefully once all the drip is fixed, there's always issues in the spring with drip. Every time we turn the water on, we've got to walk through, make sure there's no leaks or anything like that, so we can be as efficient as possible. But after that's done, we can remulch. We've got a big pile of wood chips that the local tree company that we use just dropped off, so we can start spreading that around and making it look a little bit tidier out here. So I'm really not sure how this is going to go and if the weather is going to drive us out or not, but we're going to start right here in this little area with cutting back some ornamental grasses, Russian sage, Heliopsis. Let me show you. And right there, Benny, who put in our brick walkway up to our front door last year, he left this here last fall. It's a tarp full of, this is one of the layers he uses underneath bricks, and he's got more brickwork to do. So I don't know. I was going to maybe attempt moving it today, but there's a little bit more than I thought. Anyway, I'd really like to start planting this area and getting this mulch. That would make it look so much better, but it is what it is. So we've got Russian sage in here, kind of dotted throughout, which we will cut pretty much back to the ground, maybe leaving about an inch. We've got some little lime punch hydrangeas, which I'm basically going to leave alone. I might just kind of pop the blooms off. We've got a huge drift of Heliopsis, Tuscan Sun, so we'll cut those back. You can see a new little green growth coming out there. Ornamental grasses here, we'll cut those back to the ground. We've got Echinacea, which is fleshing back but needs to be cleaned up. We have a spruce I'm going to remove. That did not do well over the winter. In fact, it didn't look great last year when we planted it. I was just giving it a shot. There's a rose I planted really late. I'm going to cut this one back fairly hard. There's quite a bit of brown, kind of dead looking. Well, it's not dead. We'll just do a major cleanup on this one. And then we've got a buddleia, which you can see all the new growth down here. We're gonna pretty much cut this one back to the new growth. Arctic Fire yellow dogwoods. I'm gonna cut out the brown branches and leave the yellow. We've got serendipity alliums. You can see the new growth, just need to clean up the tops. Echinacea, same thing. Sedum, same thing. And what else do we have here? We've got another hydrangea, and then there's some Amsonia, which we just need to cut back. Okay, so I'm just gonna start in and I will try to get some close-up shots and hopefully you guys can see exactly what I'm doing. When we're done with this little space here, we'll move over to the south garden. There's quite a bit more going on over there than in this spot right here. I'm also gonna fertilize. That's a big part of today. So I've got some plant tone and rose tone right there. I'll do rose tone for any roses, flowering shrubs, or hydrangeas, and then plant tone for pretty much everything else. Okay, here's my take from this first area. One full pop-up bag and that little evergreen. it's looking a lot better. I mean, not great, but a lot better. And you know, I had this looking pretty good by the end of the season. It was all nicely mulched. The grass was starting to fill in a little bit better. You know, we planted this like middle of the summer? So we have quite a ways to go. You can see Aaron used the, I don't even know what it's called. Anyway, it plugs the grass and allows room for roots to grow and all that business. Anyway, I came along with the auger later on in the season and messed up all the mulch when I planted these daffodils. But oh my goodness, is it ever worth it? Look at how gorgeous these are. Oh, and they're just starting to bloom, and we've got just little patches of them all over the place. And our plan for this spot is just to keep on working, just steadily filling it in. In the end, when you're walking down this grass pathway, the only thing I really want to be able to see is the cut flower garden. When you look from side to side, from one side of the grass pathway to the next, I don't really want to be able to see beyond it. So like for this area, I want it to be so thick and full of beautiful things that we don't see the fence or the dumpster or the houses or any of that. I just kind of want this to be the view. This way. And same story for this side too. However, I'll probably keep the plantings a little bit shorter here because as you're driving down the lane, it might be kind of nice to see through and maybe see the berry beds over there. I'm just not sure. We'll see how it shapes up. But we do have Russian sage and echinacea and some daffodils in here. And then there's a grouping of 3 birch trees right in the center. And the only thing I forgot about that I have over here that I forgot to explain is the coral berries. So I have the proudberry coralberry, just one of them over here. There's more on the other side. But it's one of those woody type shrubs that you prune down to 12 inches every single year. You get the best show of berries that way, and it feels like the wrong thing to do. It feels like you are cutting way too much of that shrub, but you're not. So down to 12 inches, that's what I do every year. Anyway, I think I maybe got a close up, but I'll show you on the other side when we get to that one. Okay, we are standing here in the opposite corner. I had to go get a coat because I was getting a little chilly, which is really nice. It's sprinkling a little bit. Just a little bit. I'm loving it. I know the plants are probably loving it. They love it if we got a little bit more, I think, but we'll take it. A lot of repeats in this corner of what we just did because I like to repeat a lot of plants that are really tough for us, and that's kind of the point of this garden, is creating a space that doesn't need quite as much from us in terms of maintenance and or water. So I've got echinacea, Russian sage, sedum, ornamental grasses. I also do have some daylilies, hyssop, and nepeta. You know, we've had so many warm days up to this point that you really can see where new growth is already starting to come out. So it's really easy to tell how far to cut back our plants. Most perennials you're going to be taking down to, you know, 1 inch or 2 above the ground. So if you're just new to gardening, new to perennials, that's a really good way to do it. Other than, you could always Google it or ask somebody you know who likes to garden. They can probably steer you in the right direction, or you could let the plant have a little bit of extra time and just see what it does, see what its natural growth cycle is like. And that's a really clear indicator as to what you need to do with it in the spring. But this right here is a really good example of just letting your plant do its thing, see how it grows. This is a sedum. You can see its beautiful new growth down here, and then you can see last year's crummy looking growth that needs to be removed. So we know exactly what we need to do. We'll come in with our pruners and clip back these stems and just leave the nice mound of fresh growth. Same with our daylilies here. So you can see a bloom stalk from last year. You can see all of last year's crummy looking leaves. We'll get all of those removed and just leave the good looking new leaves for this spring. And same with hyssop. So you can see all the beautiful growth down there. We just need to remove all of this. Now this is an easy one. Sometimes you don't need pruners, sometimes you do. Oh, it smells good. See, that looks so much better. And one last thing I wanted to show you was the coralberry. So like the one in the other corner there, you look at this thing and it's, you know, a woody shrub, and you think, well, I shouldn't need to do much to that. And you technically don't have to. I mean, it still has new growth. It has new leaves coming out right here up top. I don't know if you can see those fresh leaves coming out. But coral berries benefit from being cut back to about 1 foot tall, so right in here every spring. And every time I do it, it feels like it's the wrong thing to do, but they just produce more berries, more abundant berries when you do that. It's just a good, hard, rejuvenating prune every single spring. It cleans up the shrub, it keeps it in nice shape, and it keeps the berries abundant. So anyway, that's what I'll be doing. Okay, so let's just work our way around this area, and then I'm gonna go back through with our fertilizer and get everything fertilized except for the Russian sage and the sedum. Those are 2 that I do not fertilize. They do not like to be fertilized. I just love doing it because the plants are so small right now that clean out is really not a huge chore. It went pretty quickly, and seeing all that fresh growth coming up out of the ground, it made me excited because I feel like it's going to start filling in really in no time. And given the fact that we don't have to do as much infrastructure stuff out here this year, we get to focus on refining flower beds, filling up flower beds, refining grassy areas. I feel like this year by the end, we're going to be, I don't know, I think I'm going to be really happy with it. We still do have a little bit of flower bed cleanup left around the house. The bulk of it's done at this point. It's kind of more fussy things like climbing roses and things that I kind of want to take my time doing. But I'm going to go ahead and get everything minus the big trees. I'm going to come back out with tree fertilizer and evergreen fertilizer later, but I want to get the shrubs and perennials that we looked at today fertilized and done. And this is basically what I'm going to be using. So rose tone I'm going to use on hydrangeas, roses, any flowering shrub. So like even the coral berry, I'll probably use the rose tone on. And then the plant tone I will use on everything else. And I do think I mentioned I don't fertilize the sedum or the Russian sage. If they're over fertilized, they start to flop. They do not like a rich soil. Okay, so to do that, I don't really measure it out anymore. Definitely, I would recommend before you use any new fertilizer, read the directions in the back. It'll give you kind of a starting point. It also gives you a look at where the drip line of the plant is. So we don't put fertilizer right in at the base of the plant. We put it around kind of like where the outermost limbs are. That's the drip line. That's where the roots that are the most active are. So I usually just take a handful, sprinkle it around the drip line, and then another handful around the drip line. I'm not going to scratch it in with my hand on all of these. What I'll do is I will sprinkle fertilizer around each plant, and then I've got a rake with me. I'll come through and just kind of lightly rake. That way I don't have to up and down, up and down, up and down a million times to get it done. So here we go. The fertilizing part is done. It doesn't take that long, except for I ran into one snag when one of my bags that we were keeping behind the orchard fence, it's been exposed to too many elements. Anyway, it decided to get too brittle and it kind of cracked open and filled the back of the gator. But it was nice because I put some in this bucket right here, and you can tip those buckets, you know, with the handle. One hand's got the handle, the other hand can kind of tip the bucket, and it made it a lot faster. So I might do that from now on. Of course, it's best to fertilize if you can get real close to the ground or not on a breezy day, so you're not dealing with the kind of puff. There's always that dust on the fertilizer, so I just stood upwind from it instead of down. So anyway, got it all raked in. I've got the 2 lilacs right here. So we've got a Ludwig Spaeth. Is that how you say it? I don't know. Anyway, 8 to 10 feet high, 6 to 8 feet wide. And then we've got a President Lincoln. So both are purple. This one grows 10 by 10. They're beautiful plants right now. And the sky's the limit. I'm thinking one might be nice right out here, maybe the larger one. Let's see. Lilacs actually do fairly well here because they like an alkaline soil, which we can definitely deliver, and they like full sun. So this space should be really nice for them. That'll be pretty, right? So you've got some Baptisia back in there, and we're going to be putting another evergreen back in here and probably some larger things, maybe even more lilacs back in there. But I think this will be a really nice size right here because we've got I think that's a gin fizz juniper, and then we've got a hoopsii blue spruce, both of which will get quite large in this area and fill this space up, and this will kind of be the next layer down. Then you can see our berry beds right over there. Stepping back, you can see it right there. I think that'll be really nice. And this next one, Oh, it's so gorgeous. I'm thinking right over here. I think that might be nice. We've got a spring grove arborvitae there. I've got a 9-bark there and our eastern redbud there. I did contact Benny. He's gonna come and get this tarp full of gravel here pretty quick, and then we can start filling in up here with some other things. And I've got the auger here, and I'm just gonna go ahead and use some of this fertilizer that we have spilled in here just to get it used up. So let's get these in the ground. They are in the ground. First one right here, hopefully filling in this area. This is the Ludwig spathe. It's got kind of more of a pink, on the pink side of purple. The other one's more of like a blue purple, based on the tag anyway. Let's head over here. And there it is, President Lincoln. Oh, it's gonna be so fun to watch these grow. I don't think we're gonna get blooms off of them this year, but we'll get to see them put on some growth hopefully, and then we'll get to enjoy the color show next spring. And the thing I love about this space out here is that there's absolutely no rhyme or reason to how we're planting any of it. There was no master plan on where things should go. We just kind of pick up things as we go along and find spots for it. Of course, you want to make sure with your big things, your big trees and evergreens, that you're giving them enough space, which we are doing, but we still have all of those great big trees that we got earlier this spring, and some of them will end up out here. I'm not sure even which ones. We're just going to get the tractor out one of these days and just pick up one tree at a time and go place it and just find spots for them. It's a freeing thing. However, when I plant something like this, I have to resist the urge to want to put in like a massive hedge of something like this, because I love lilacs, and a hedge of lilacs in the spring, oh, that would be glorious. In the back garden, we do have a hedge of lilacs, and they go purple, white, purple, white, purple. I can't remember how many are back there, 4 or 5, and it's really pretty. And that is gonna be it for today's projects. I have got to go water everything now, the ranunculus and anemones, the greenhouse, the cold frames, various pots, and various new plantings. Spring is kind of a weird time because we don't have all of our irrigation all worked out yet, so there's a lot of hand watering that goes on in the spring, almost more than there is in the summertime, which, like, believe it or not. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I do hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.